Good evening, and welcome to Creative Broadcasting, the station of unlimited possibilities. Presents Creating Your Seat at the Table with your host, Ashley Little, as she welcomes her guest to the table.
Welcome to Creating Your Seat at the Table. I am your host, Dr. Ashley Little. A little bit about myself: corporate executive by day, serial entrepreneur by night, CEO and founder of Ashley Little Enterprises, LLC, and founder and owner of Talk Radio and TV Network, LLC. Tonight, we have an amazing special VIP guest by the name of Lola Tomorrow. A little bit about her. Lola Tomorrow is the brains and power behind the Tomorrow Live virtual experience. She is an accomplished events executive with more than 14 years of experience creating highly successful and revenue-generating corporate events, galas, conventions, and industry conferences. Highlights from her background: she was a former National Advanced Associate for former First Lady Michelle Obama, successfully managed and curated more than 300 profitable events, organizer and creator of TEDx Willow Creek, single-handedly raised more than $500,000 for numerous not-for-profit initiatives and star-stud community events, and founder and executive director of iGlow, inspiring girls to lead our world, mentoring which serves 3,000 plus girls in the Chicago metro area. Financed and escorted a trip for 21 young women from iGlow on an all-expenses paid cultural experience to London and Paris. This opportunity provided the recipients world-class training in cross-cultural exploration and global travel. Welcome to the table, the amazing Lola Tomorrow.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited about tonight.
I'm excited to have you at the table for our listeners to hear the wisdom and knowledge that I know that you're going to share. And so tell us more about your journey.
Yeah, well, it's been one of those things where I really feel like my journey has been a series of divine moments happening that really positioned me to be at a place that I never even imagined being. A lot of times when I talk to people about whether it's the work I've done with the First Lady or the work I've done with events or work I've done with my nonprofit, it was never a part of my plan. And so it's really the beauty of just, showing up. And when you show up, opportunities present themselves and you just take them on. And so that's really been my journey overall.
I love that. And so tell us more about, because I know you have about 14 years or more experience in events. So tell us why you're so passionate about, events and the events industry.
Yeah, well, interesting enough, so my dad is Nigerian. And when I went to college, my daddy was like, you're going to be an accountant, a lawyer, or a doctor. Those were the three options that I had. And so I decided to be an accountant, and then I took accounting 131 in college, which is not even real accounting. But that accounting class showed me that I did not want to be an accountant. And I called home and I told my daddy, I don't want to do this. I need to figure out what I want to do. So in college, I was planning these events. Now, funny enough, I planned my first event in third grade. I gave my teacher in third grade a surprise baby shower. Now, I didn't really know that this was something that God had gifted me to do, but my mom is she kept all of the paperwork and things. And I had a list I collected $1.25 from every student. We then took that. I went into Sam's Club. My mom took me to buy a cake. We brought the teacher a gift. And so event planning was in my nature. And so in college, I found out that it was an actual major. And so I joined that major in event planning, and the rest is history. And so really what I am really addicted to is, one, I love humans. I've always had this love for people, and I really enjoy bringing people together. And when I found out that I could actually make a living off of bringing people together, I have been out of college for about 15 years now, and there's nothing else I've done in my career besides plan events. That's how much I love it. That's how much I enjoy what I do with events.
Wow. Started planning in the third grade. Pretty amazing, okay?
Third grade.
And so you single-handedly raised more than $500,000 for numerous not-for-profit initiatives and star-studded community events. Tell us, how did you do it?
Yeah, so all of that money that I've ever raised is going to be for my nonprofit organization, iGlow Mentoring. And, there's two things. One, I'm really passionate about the work that we do. And, we can't really do the type of work that we do to serve girls without having support. And so I learned very quickly that I had the type of personalities that people responded to me, and I could get people to actually give me stuff. And so how I do it and how I did it is I'm consistent. Not only am I consistent as it pertains to that work, I think another piece is I always trailblaze paths. So when you are creating something and it's never been done before, people want to get behind you. People want to support it because they've never seen it done that way before. And so, it's really just asking. I have a little thing where I will ask anybody for anything. All you can tell me is no. And I think just having that posture, what you learn very quickly is that you can get 100 no's, but you only need one yes. And so what it really taught me is it gave me a tough skin to be able to handle the no's and keep going as people said no until I get my one yes. And so that's just been my strategy with that.
I love that. That's so important, right? Because a lot of people miss out because they're scared of somebody telling them no, right? Shoot your shot is what I call it. Shoot your shot.
Yep.
And it has to help you tremendously, obviously. And so, And speaking of amazing events, trailblazing things that's never been done, let's talk about Tomorrow Live, your virtual event where you have Kris Jenner and Sarah Jakes as speakers. Tell us more about this amazing event.
Yeah, so really my vision behind Tomorrow Live, is I'm really called to help women of faith in business get to the next level. Something happens to me personally when I see people of faith, especially women, living underneath our means, living in a way where we're sacrificing all, we're serving everyone, but we're burned out. We don't have what we need. We're broke. And so I really feel a call to help women of faith dominate in business. And their domination in business is not just so we can have stuff and have fancy things and we can just have money for Instagram and post stuff. It's domination so that we can be an extension of God's hands here on earth. Like, envision this. Envision 25 women of faith right now coming together and all writing a check for $100,000 and we rebuilding our own community. Imagine what we can do if we had access to more capital. And so I feel called to really help and serve women that have a calling to impact our world. This woman, the woman that I am called to, is not just someone who's just looking for wealth just to have it, but she's looking for wealth to, one, create generational wealth for her family. And she's also looking for wealth so that she can do more. So this conference that I pulled together is for women that are trying to get to the next level, but they lack community, they lack connections, and they lack resources. Who I am is I am literally positioning myself as the bridge that is connecting women of faith to their next. And so as I begin to really get strategy about who we're going to be the keynote speakers, I wanted the best of the best in the different industries. Kris is not coming to lead Bible study. Kris is not coming to give you a breakdown of Genesis through Revelation. That's not her position. She's coming to give you business strategy. She's coming to give you things that she's learned in the business world that you can apply to your life throughout the years. Sarah is coming to give you the faith component of it. And even more powerful than Kris and Sarah, that I keep telling women, is that Kris is not the secret sauce. I'm beyond honored to have her. Sarah is not the secret sauce. Beyond honored to have her. Your partnership with God is the secret sauce that magnifies this experience. So when you come into a segment with Kris Jenner, or you're going into a segment with Sarah, or you're going into a segment with any of the other speakers, it's really your partnership with God that amplifies anything that anybody teaches you. And so really the entire core and the heart of this conference is to help women tap into their superpower through partnership with God as they begin to scale their business.
Powerful. And that's what it's all about, right? It's all about him. It's all about putting him first, right, and just letting him direct. And I can, I follow you on Facebook, consistently follow you, and I see all the amazing things that are happening every day where people just buying tickets, right? Bulks of tickets. So I definitely see the favor that's over this whole experience.
Yeah, it's been a pretty amazing experience. I'm really, really humbled by just seeing God show up the way he has been showing up.
Yes. And how can people go purchase tickets and attend this conference and get involved?
Yeah, sure. You can purchase tickets on our website, Tomorrow Live, TMRW, Tomorrow Live, LIVE.com. And you can purchase tickets there.
So listeners, make sure you go purchase tickets and support this amazing event. So Lola, I want to get more into it for our listeners who are looking to probably grow in the events industry. So what are some strategies you would give to aspiring, event, coordinators, aspiring event, people that would like to grow in the events industry? What are some strategies you would give to them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm really happy that people are asking this type of question, because as an event executive, it is exhausting to see that everybody labels themselves an event planner. So the first thing is that I think it's important that you identify the type of event planner that you are. That's very important, because just because you plan events don't mean you plan all events. You have to really identify what's your secret sauce. What's the thing that makes you good at what you do. So for example, I can plan a corporate conference and I can have 10,000 people, 10,000 registrations, and I will run it like a well-oiled machine. That's my sweet spot. I know what I'm doing. I can have 50,000 people in a room, and I can have control of the entire room. That's who I am. That's where I'm gifted. However, you ask me to decorate for a baby shower, or you ask me to plan a wedding, I can't do that. I don't have that skill set. And so my skill set is it's called an event planner, but I'm really a sophisticated project manager. That's my gift. And so I think it's important for those who want to be event planners, because a lot of people tell me they want to be corporate event planners and they have no idea what it takes. And when they get around the table, they realize it's not as sexy as they thought it would be. It's not the pretty flowers and the pretty backdrops. It's like registration reports and 10,000 name badges and so on and so on. So my first piece of advice is identify your gifts, where your gifting lies as an event planner. Are you more administrative? Are you the person that can work with the spreadsheets? Are you the decorator? I have a colleague who plans events. She can walk into a room, and the way her creative mind works, she can literally start decorating the entire room. She has vision for that. When I walk into a room, I see nothing but people. I don't have vision for that because it's not a gift. So again, I cannot stress that enough for them to identify where they're good at. The next thing that I think is important to do is I'm really big on interning. Like before I even landed my first full-time position, I had did like 4 unpaid internships. I think that it is important that you learn and you are in a position to learn and to get experience through interning. And so whether this is a person that's fresh out of college or this is a person that's already in their career, maybe it doesn't look like interning for a person that might be a little bit older. Maybe it's you volunteering and working for an event. Even for my event right now with Chris and Sarah, I have a number of people who reach out to me like, hey, I'm looking to get in the event planning industry. Can I volunteer? Can I help with your event? I don't allow volunteers to help with my event because it's so big and it's virtual. But if this was an in-person event, I absolutely would allow a volunteer to work the registration table and so on and so on. So I encourage them to volunteer and or intern. I think that is very important. And then the third thing, which is the last thing, is I am passionate about being the best at everything that I do. So I don't care who you hire, what other event planner you've ever worked with. I am going to be, for what I'm really good at, I'm going to be the best that you've ever experienced. And what makes me the best? It's not just that I'm good at my craft, it's that I take professional development seriously. And I can't stress this enough for event planners to invest in your craft. Get a part of these professional development organizations, MPI, PCMA. These are major organizations where event planners that are actually doing this at a high level and making great money, they're a part of these organizations. They're getting the training, they're getting the certification, they're getting all of that. And I think that's also important as you begin to potentially build an event planning career.
And thanks for sharing those nuggets because, I don't, like you stated, I don't think enough people are very knowledgeable of what it really takes, right, to be a successful events planner, even to your level of events executive. And so what are the pros and cons of being in this industry as well?
Yeah, I think the pro is definitely if you are a person who loves the adrenaline rush, which most event planners do, we search after it a little bit. So you have that. No 2 days are the same. Planning events is not like being an accountant. Like it's every day is different. So there's a lot of variety that happens. The con I would have to say is it's time consuming. Events, because a lot of times you don't know what you don't know, and who knows that your registration system is going to crash the first day it's launched, right? And you can't sleep until it gets relaunched, or who knows that COVID is going to happen and all of the in-person events are going to be turned online, and you now have to figure out new ways to engage. And so it's a lot of the unexpected, and it can be very time consuming. I think another potential con could be, I think that actually might be the only one that I have, because I've been doing it for so long and I love it. I enjoy it. So besides that, I don't think there's another con that I have, but there's so many pros to me in the world of event planning, because here's the cool thing about event planning. Even me working for First Lady Michelle Obama, me landing that opportunity, that came through an event. And so events just have the position or the ability to position you and your career at another level. And so I just love it. So most of my feedback is going to be pros.
Awesome. And speaking of working for First Lady Michelle Obama, tell us more about that journey and how was it, right? Everybody can't say that they worked alongside the Michelle Obama. So can you tell us about your journey with working with the former First Lady?
Yeah, so it was pretty amazing. I think the main thing that I always like to tell people that I think should say a lot is that on average, I would say, I think the longest job I've ever stayed at was like 2 to 3 years. It was like almost 3 years. I was just created to be an entrepreneur. So like staying long-term for companies, that has never been something I've done throughout my career. I stayed with them for 7 years. And me staying with them for 7 years wasn't just because they were the first lady. It was the first lady. It was because this was one of the first times that I have been able to serve a leader that has such a heart for people. I mean, like, seriously, like you see one thing on TV. I see when the cameras aren't there and nobody's looking. And to see her heart for people and her heart for service, it was just really just a pretty remarkable thing for me to be able to serve her in that capacity, and I was just honored to do so. And so it was an amazing experience. It was challenging. There were challenges more so within myself, because sometimes you think about it, I'm just a girl from the south side of Chicago. You're talking about me now traveling and working with the First Lady. Like, talk about all the mental things I have to work through to even show up. I'm like, wait, I'm not good enough. I can't do that. Who picked me? Or, and so it was challenging for me working through all those things, but it was a great experience and pretty much a life-changing experience. She really, to be honest, and I don't think I've ever said this before this moment right here, is that looking back over that journey, she really started to set the course of my life. Like before working for her, I had a little bit of understanding, but working with her helped me identify my identity. And not just even my identity, the real blueprint for my purpose. And so that's why I tell people, like, I just love them, and I'll always do nothing but honor them as long as I can.
Wow. And, it's so funny how, life is full circle, right? And, you working with her and you were there longer than any other job that you've had, pushed you out, like you stated, into your destiny of these empires that you've built. So I just want to say kudos to all the amazing things that you are doing.
Thank you.
You are welcome. And, the pandemic happened last year, and, a lot of people had to pivot, right? And so can you share how you had to pivot in the event space? Because, some people made it. They were able to turn lemons into lemonade. And some people, they didn't have that strength, right, in that industry. So can you talk about that, how you had to pivot, if you had to pivot during that time?
Yeah, before the pandemic, all of my event clients were all in person. I was planning a lot of major corporate events drawing thousands of people. So you're talking about in a matter of 30 days, it's just, I have no words for like really how fast things changed for me and my business, where we went from, having multiple six-figure months to losing multiple six figures in a week. And so it was one of those things where I had to decide how I wanted to pivot, and really the decision was if I wanted to go inside of a corporation and help them build out their virtual experience. I've been planning virtual events for the last 10 years. Virtual events is not a new thing. We in the corporate event space call it more of a hybrid event, where we will have a portion of the event in person and the portion will be virtual. I've been doing events like that on a large scale for 10 years. And so I had to decide if I wanted to go in and help an organization build out their virtual event experience, or if I wanted to create my own. And I decided to create my own, which is really where Tomorrow Live came from, because Tomorrow Live didn't exist before. Let me rephrase that. Tomorrow Live, an in-person experience existed. The virtual experience did not exist before COVID.
So, with that, what are some, because everything is not, full back 100% right now, but it's going back that way. And so what is some words of encouragement you would give to event planners and, that are, still working it out, right, and figuring it out? What are some advice you would give to them to keep moving and keep going, understanding that it is light at the end of the tunnel,
Yeah, the first thing that I feel that COVID was necessary. And so I feel like one thing that COVID has taught me, and I pray that it's taught every event planner, and not just every event planner, I think any working professional, is that you have to always be ready for a pivot. Always. Sometimes we get comfortable in our norms. And I know I'm guilty because I wasn't interested in no pivot last year. I had other plans. But you have to always be ready for what we're calling pivot, but for some of us, it's also innovation. So I am, even from this, it's now even stretching me to even just go deeper and figuring out different ways. How can I enhance the experience that people have in person? Next year, I'm already planning my in-person event for Tomorrow Live for 22. And I'm already thinking, how can I enhance this experience? How can I take it to the next level? And so the first piece of advice that I would give for them is for them to get intentional about their levels of innovation and how they innovate. Because if you have vision as an event planner, you will never be broke. You will never be without a client when you have vision. And so constantly going deeper for that. The next thing is, I think, that community. That's one thing that I really leaned into that I never really leaned into before, is I leaned into community of the other event planners. And it was one of those things where we were really looking out for each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, even different things that I might have, and I have a space to bring somebody inside of a contract, I would go pull another event planner, and I saw other event planners doing that same thing. So that community piece is also important. And I think at the end of the day, one thing that I am learning, and I learned last year, is that our source is not in our career. Our source is not in our business. It's not in any of that. Our source is actually in God. And I think no matter what the industry is, it's like putting everything into its prospective places. Yes, I'm an event planner. I think I'm one of the best. Yes, this is how I provide for myself or whatever. But my source is actually God. My source is not my skill. And so I think even kind of putting that into perspective, meaning people kept saying, well, what happens if we do another shutdown? Or what happens if this happens? Well, I don't know about y'all, but I know I'm covered. Like, I'm going to be protected, and I'm going to have the insight to pivot. I'm going to have the insight to innovate. I'm going to have all of that because I really depend on God as my source and not just this career, not just this business. And so I think the final thoughts that I would leave for event planners that might be trying to figure it out is trust your instincts. Trust the instinct of nature that's inside of you, and use your resources. LinkedIn is a major resources for event planners that might be looking for work, looking for contracts, connecting to people on LinkedIn. Like, your network is really going to be currency for you as you're looking to possibly revamp.
Ooh, that was so powerful. Your network is going to be your currency and building those relationships. Thank you for sharing those amazing jewels. So that's so important. And now let's talk about, you are the founder and executive director of iGlow. Let's talk about your amazing nonprofit and tell us more about it.
Yeah, so iGlow is a mentoring organization for inner city teen girls. And to be honest, when I started iGlow, I was thinking it would be a little something that we would do. Maybe 50 girls would be a part of it. I never imagined it growing into this massive empire that is growing into. But really, my heart behind iGlow is really, when I was in high school, I didn't really have the resource of mentorship. I didn't really have access to different resources. One, because I was African American. Two, because of my zip code. And so the moment I started traveling the world with the First Lady and I started really getting out of what I was used to, I'm like, oh my God, look how big the world is and look how much is out here. I started this organization with one intention, and that is to give girls of color access to resources. Because for a lot of our girls, it's not that they're not smart enough, it's not that they don't apply themselves. It's just because they live in a certain zip code. It's just because they go to a certain type of school that they don't have access to these resources. So something as small as taking girls out of the country. For the girls, they're like, oh my God, I get to go out the country. This is for Snapchat, this for the gram. No. See, for me, when I made the decision to take girls internationally, I did research. And research shows that 97% of teenagers that travel internationally are 99% more likely to graduate college, are 99% more likely to make more money in the workplace. Like, travel has the ability to expand their mind and expand all of the different things that they have access to. So for me, with my organization, it's about going to give them access to things that gives them a little bit more of a parallel of advantage to their peers that might not be African American. And so the work we do with iGlow is so personal and so dear to my heart because this is the legacy that I want to leave. When I am one day not breathing anymore and I'm not here, what I want to leave is the empowerment of brown girls, not just empowering them, not just staffing them with the resources that they need for their next level, but empowering them to empower others. That's one of the mandatory things in my program. It's not just about coming and just giving, but we give. My girls are required to give back. Every year we do a Christmas drive where we go and we provide toys for less fortunate kids. We go and we feed the homeless to really begin to raise up a generation of girls that, yes, are going to dominate and lead our world. But while they're dominating and leading our world, they have a sensitivity of humanity. They have a sensitivity about reaching back and helping those that are less fortunate. And so I'm really proud of the work that we're doing with iGlow, and these girls they impress me every day.
And so how can our, listeners support, and donate and get involved and partner with you all?
Yes, our website is iglowgirls.org, and you can make a donation there. And if you want to get involved, you can also fill out the form on the website to get involved and possibly become a mentor and work with one of our girls.
So make sure you all go support, go sign up to be a mentor, and definitely get involved with Lola's amazing nonprofit. So Lola, I asked all of my guests this question. You have created multiple tables for others and multiple tables for yourself. How did you create your seat at the table?
To be honest, I don't think I ever did create my seat at the table. I think it was already created for me. What I did do is I had to learn how to rest in my seat at the table. And that's what I had a challenge of doing. So I feel like a lot of times, I'm speaking for myself, I dealt with for years layers of self-sabotage. So the seat was for me at the table, but I would neglect it or I would do something to kind of run away from it. I didn't want to rest in it. I didn't want the seat. I didn't feel worthy of the seat, all that good stuff. And so what I am learning to do is how to actually rest in my seat at the table. It's not that I have to work for it because it's already mine. All I have to do is learn how to rest in it. And so then the question begins to be, how do you actually find out or identify your seat at the table? The way you do that is you keep showing up. And I really like to talk about this type of stuff because I feel like we have created a little bit of a generation of people that are in pursuit of opportunities all the time, right? It's always, how do I get this? When in reality, your power is in resting in your now and showing up in your now. And as you rest in your now and as you show up in your now, you are now prepared for your seat at the table. There are so many people that I feel like have seats at the table and they're not prepared for it. And so I've really learned throughout the years how to rest in my power at my seat at the table and resting in what I contribute to the table as well. And so that's my thinking about that whole concept because I'm also how do I want to describe that? I'm a slightly aggressive person. I guess I say slightly. I'm really more than slightly, but I'm trying to change. But I'm like a type A. I'm kind of aggressive. And so for me, when there's a goal, I aggressively go after it. That's just my nature. Like if I say I want that, I'm going to go and get it. So as it pertains to different opportunities, this is what's worked for me. I never tried or had to create the seat at Michelle Obama's table. It was already created for me. All I had to do was show up and walk in it. I didn't even know I had a seat there. I didn't even know that's what I wanted, but it was already created for me. Versus this mentality like, you know what? I want to do this for Michelle Obama. Let me go do this. Let me go do that. That has been the strategy that's worked for me.
And you know what? Just to say type A, I'm type A myself. So there's nothing wrong with type A. Let's embrace it. yes, get it done. So, and thanks for sharing that and, really so eloquently talking about how you create your seat at the table because I really believe, everybody's, answer for that is different, but but it's all pretty much the same about being consistent, right? And really, working hard and doing the work because I think a lot of people miss that part. That's how you do it. You do the work and the tables will
come, do
right?
the work.
Create yourself and you create your seat. And so what did failure teach you on your journey? Because I think a lot of people see the accolades of everybody's success, but they don't see the process and the journey, right? And that actually is the most important part of anybody's success is the process. And so what did failure teach you on your journey?
I think for me, the main thing that, when you are in the middle of a failure, it doesn't feel like what I'm about to say. But once you come out and you see the evolution of it, it's actually a pretty beautiful thing. So for me, years ago, I actually went bankrupt. And that was a pretty big blow for a person like me because, before bankruptcy, I had, 800 credit score. I've been making six figures since I was 22, so a person with my type of setup was not supposed to be in the bankruptcy category. But what it did for me is it taught me so much, and I've been able to learn so much. And there have been other major mistakes that I've made that I'm able to now embrace mistakes differently, embrace the failures differently, because it turns into a beautiful dynamic of how it makes me and how it helps me. And so some of the biggest failures in my life have been the biggest blessings, and I've probably made, depending on what the failure has been, I've probably made the most money from because it taught me a lesson that was priceless. And so for me, one thing that I feel like I never really was able to do as a kid that I do as an adult is I embrace my entire journey, right? People say to me like, oh my God, I can't believe you share that. There's no shame for me. Like, there's no shame with my story. There's no shame with anything that I've been through, because I've allowed it to make me better. I've allowed it to evolve my thinking and to evolve the way that I do things. And so I think that the beauty is embracing the entire journey, the good and the bad. And even knowing from this day right now, in this moment, I'm in bliss right now. My business is doing well. Life is good. Everything's going well. But I'm been around long enough to know that the season of everything going well is just a season. There'll be a season where things won't go that well. There'll be a season where life happens. And when life happens, I embrace the entire journey instead of trying to, I think sometimes as humans, we try to guide our lives so that everything goes right and everything's perfect and we don't get hurt and we don't have heartbreak and we don't have failures and we don't have these different things. And I just don't do that. I just show up every day and I just embrace the things as they come, because I know God is intentional with me. Nothing just happens to me. So everything that happens for a reason, and kind of looking at it with that angle has helped me just redirect how I perceive failure.
I love that, because people miss that part, that it's a lesson as well. And so what did success teach you, Lola? Because you're very successful.
Success has taught me, to be honest, you know what? It's interesting as you're asking this question, because I just had this conversation with myself the other day. Yes, I do have conversations with myself. The other day, I was just thinking, like, I knew I was good, but I didn't know I was this good. Like, success has taught me, I'm telling you, I can do anything I put my mind to. You know, and I used to always think I could never really understand why people would make me feel like I was different. I felt like I was just like everybody else. And what I'm really learning is that it's not that I'm not like everybody else, but it's like there are certain people in this world, their level of resilience and their level of being able to like bounce back, like it's something different. And I have that. And success has really shown me that. It's shown me that I'm able to push through. It's shown me that I am an excellent and I am a solid leader. It shows me that I have the grit and I have the grace to kind of do all of these different things. So it's really, to be honest, the different levels of success has helped to affirm certain levels of my identity that I think that I probably was uncertain in before.
Well, all I know is you're doing amazing things. Love everything that you're doing, your whole platform. So keep shining. And so we know you have the Tomorrow Live coming up in a week or so. What else can we expect from you in this new year of 2021, our new decade, the new decade? What can we expect from Lola? We're getting ready to finish out the first quarter.
Yeah, so I'm working on my first book that should prayerfully be ready by the end of the year. And I'm also working on Tomorrow Live 2022. I'm planning on launching that mid to late summer for next year. And yeah, just me innovating, me, choosing me first and just enjoying this entire journey.
Wow. Well, can't wait to see all the great things that you're going to continue to do. Can't wait to get the new book. You said coming out by the end of the year?
Yeah.
Awesome. So super congratulations on all of the great things that you have coming up and things that you didn't even discuss. Super congratulations on all the things that you've already done. And so please tell our listeners how they can follow you, support you, and book you on all social media platforms.
Absolutely. So I'm Lola Tomorrow. That's LOLATOMORROW on all social media platforms. And my website is tomorrowlive.com.
So please follow and support Lola. She's doing some amazing things. Definitely somebody to know and connect with. Lola, thank you so much again for coming to the table, taking time out of your very busy schedule. This has been an amazing interview, and I can't wait to invite you back to the table.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. So I would like to give a special thanks to my intern, Sarah, who is a Tennessee State University alumni. And I would also like to give a special thanks to my intern, Vontaria, who is a student at Winston-Salem State University. You all may follow me on Facebook at Dr. Ashley Little and on Instagram at _Ashley A. Little. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Creating Your Seat at the Table, where Ashley speaks with corporate professionals, celebrities, entrepreneurs, authors, and speakers who are transitioning or have transitioned to entrepreneurship.